So let's dive into the world of multi-step equations or inequalities. And I say the word equations because it's the same steps. If you remember, with equations, we had to distribute first, and that doesn't change with inequalities. So we still have to distribute first. So we still have to do -3 times x and -3 times -2. So this would be -3 times x and -3 times -2. Okay, because remember, minus means negative, and I think a lot of us are starting to realize that now. Okay, so I'm proud of you guys on that. So -3 times x is -3x. -3 times -2 is a positive 6. And this is why I said it's key for you to realize that that's a negative right there. Because you actually are getting a plus 6 answer. So you're changing the minus to a plus. And that's because we're multiplying two negatives. Okay? Don't change anything else in the problem. Okay, so I bring down the less than symbol and 24. So now all we're left with is a two-step equation. Okay, so I'm going to move this up. But we're left with a two-step equation. So if you remember the process for a two-step equation, I box in this. Okay, so I box in my x, and the -3 is attached to it, so I box that with it. And so I've got to do the opposite of plus 6. So, of course, the opposite of plus 6, the inverse operation, is to subtract 6. So I'm going to do that to both sides. The -3x comes down. Okay, so I have -3x. So I hope you're going through this process with me. Don't pay attention to the numbers so much as you do the process. Notice I started with distributing, so I'm going to write down that. Distribute. Okay, that's always what I do first. And then I'm just solving. All right, I'm just solving a two-step, which is what we've been doing for, seems like forever now, and you guys are great at it. So 24 minus 6 is 18. And so now, remember, this right here is actually multiplication, if you remember. Okay, so when it's written like that, I'm actually multiplying those two. Okay, so the opposite of multiplication is, of course, division. So I'm going to divide by -3. Make sure you attach that negative to that 3. That's going to come key here in a minute. So divide by -3. So bring down the x. 18 divided by 3 is 6, but that's also a positive divided by a negative. So remember, when one of the numbers is negative, the answer is negative when I'm multiplying and dividing. Also, remember, key, I cannot say this enough. It is key for you to remember. If you divide or multiply by a negative, you flip inequality symbol. You flip the inequality symbol. Okay, so it goes the opposite way. So what that means is instead of this pointing that way, it's actually going to switch directions. So when I move it down here, it now becomes a greater than. So instead of being less than, my answer is x is greater than -6. So what that means is to get a number that works in this case up here, that works here, I've got to plug in something that's greater than -6. I'm going to write that down. X greater than -6. Okay? So that is what it means here, is that we're looking for a number greater than -6. Easiest thing in the world for you to pick is 0. All right, so let's plug in 0. If I plug 0 in right there, 0 minus 2 is -2. -3 times -2 is 6. But I want that to be less than 24. That works. So this is how you solve it. If you have this, it doesn't change. We distribute first, then we solve. That's the only added piece to the process. So make sure you're understanding the process of how to solve these.